I say enough is enough. I got enough junk. I don't need any more. I can be content where I'm at, and I don't need to keep buying. Now what I might need to do, since God's blessed me, is find someone that I can invest my money into that's doing the work of the Lord. And a lot of times they do that into organizations, thinking somehow or another that cuts it, where the organization is basically putting the pastors in Mercedes and new carpets. I went to this church here a couple weeks ago, and I mean, it's a glorious church, and one of their big thrusts is this new building program they need just to upgrade some of their facilities, which are in perfect shape. All they want to do is just try to keep upping the ante. And rather than to we look at most church budgets and see how much money they're putting into evangelistic programs versus everything else. It's only a very small percentage as a general rule. Now, you all know, maybe you don't, but I went around to close to 12 to 1,500 churches, personally. And one thing I found was there is a gigantic difference among churches within areas. And one thing that was very, I'll just tell you a couple things, since I'm going to get off on this kick and I want some balance here, a little bit of balance. One thing that was very disturbing to me is that we still have segregation within the churches. You either have a black church or you have a white church in many parts of this country. You do not, as a general rule, have a black and a white church. It's either exclusively black or exclusively white, all within the same town, and numerous of these. You don't find this as so predominant on the West Coast as you do in other parts of the country, but it's very predominant in other parts of the country. The other thing that just really shocked me was that I'd go into these poor black churches, and I've been to a lot of them, probably more than all you guys combined. A lot of very, very poor black churches. And I don't think I've ever been to one to where there wasn't a Cadillac sitting there that was the preacher's, or a Mercedes or something like that. They feel that they've got to have this image of prosperity, and the church is in terrible shape. And the people are poor in these poor neighborhoods, but the pastor has to get the money to buy the Cadillac or the Mercedes to park in front of the church to show his legitimacy as a man of God. I had one church in a real poor area, and I went into this church, and the pastor came out and met me, and he's got his Mercedes there. And if you knew how poor, most people on the West Coast don't know what real poor living facilities are, neighborhoods and stuff. But I'm talking about some real bad areas that are similar maybe to third world countries that we have in our nation.
Yeah, like shacks.
And we have a number of them, and I've been to hundreds of them. But this one black church, the guy comes out and he's wearing a solid gold suit. I mean, I have to look twice because it looks to me like it's made out of gold. And he's got his Mercedes in front of the church. I had a delightful conversation with the guy. I think that the guy really had a heart for God. But, you know, that just kind of threw me off. You know, why do we need that image when we're all poor? You know, I mean, everybody, all your parishioners are poor. Your church is a shack, but you've got an expensive Mercedes and you're wearing a gold suit. What? I mean, how does this fit into the Bible? You know, and so, and then we've got the white churches to where they just are so deep into materialism. You go into those churches and everything is super nice, super expensive. And I oftentimes, I'd move from a terribly poor church, oftentimes black, most of the time black, and I'd drive a couple miles away and I'd find this absolutely luxurious white church. That wasn't bad enough. What really locked my jaws was they were the same denomination. This was a Southern Baptist, that was a Southern Baptist. This was a Catholic, that was a Catholic. This was a Pentecostal, that was a Pentecostal. And how in the world could this rich church justify allowing this church to be just a couple miles or less from them and so poor? Why couldn't you just go in there when you were building your church and you order your carpet, instead of ordering 120 yards, why don't you 140 and go in and put 40 yards of nice carpet in theirs? When you put your wallboard up, why not throw in an extra 25 sheets and go over and make theirs nice on the inside?